Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Hedera and HBAR, so let's just dive in. And let's start off with the fact that we hit 11 billion transactions. It's kind of crazy. We're at 11 billion transactions, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of people out there thinking, like, why should we even care? And in fact, I think that there's a large percentage of people that just don't even care at this point. And it's kind of comical because I remember when we would hit, 1 billion transactions, and that was a big deal. Now we're at 11 billion, and it's almost as if nobody cares anymore. I see so many comments talking about the token dilution. Oh, there's too many tokens. There's too many tokens. It's like, what are you talking about? I mean, we're at, the overall total supply is 50 billion. That's absolutely nothing compared to, most of these other top 10 projects. It's right on board with them. If anything, I think that the 50 billion max supply is perfect. I think it's a perfect ratio, especially for enterprise grade use, financial institutional grade use, and even retail use. But I still find it crazy that people are fixated on just one thing when we have these, transactions happening on a 24/7 basis. And I've done the math. By the end of the year, we should be at anywhere between 20 to 30 billion transactions, which is wild to me. But again, most people are still just focused on one thing. Same way that most people are just focused on the price action. I love the fundamentals. I love seeing 1000 TPS. I love seeing that we are hitting milestone after milestone and making history every single day. I love it. And with that in mind, let's talk about a few things. Let's dive in. So first and foremost, Hedera has been trending HBAR with 2.54 million tweets. Absolutely wild. And at this current moment in time, HBAR is trending on my what's happening. You also see Hinman emails there, bull market, CCIP. There's a few other things there as well, but for the most part, yeah, it's great to see HBAR trending. It's great to see HBAR finally picking up some pace over on Twitter. The HBAR Foundation almost hitting 80,000 followers. Hedera still coming up on that 300K. I do think that we will most likely get to that 300K very soon. I think that the future is very bright. And honestly, as we do really look at the social presence for Hedera, I have to really give them my respect because during 2021, you guys know me, I keep it, straight with you guys. Hedera had no social presence. I mean, they were really not doing a lot of marketing at all. Now we are starting to see them really market, and I think that that's been helping them grow and become a major player around the space as well. They don't believe in hype. They could 100% hype the substance all day long, but they don't believe in hype. The network itself speaks for itself. The transactions speak for themselves. Hedera doesn't really need to rely on hype at all, which I personally love to see. But also, there was a few articles that recently, came out earlier in the month. This one was pretty interesting, how the Metaverse may revolutionize the creator economy. This has been one thing that I've been focused on. You guys know me. I personally love Galaxy. I'm actually a part of a council with Galaxy. And, Galaxy is one of those projects that is revolutionizing the creator economy. It's almost like, if you will, it's like Patreon, except on the blockchain. But there's also like a social media presence on the app as well. There's a lot happening on Hedera. And the creator economy is set for, disruption. It really is set for disruption. And I think that networks like Hedera are going to be the leaders behind this. The future of Web3 is very large. I've been talking about Web3 for so long. There's been talks and discussions around how Web3 could essentially be a $140 trillion plus asset class itself. We don't know, right? We really have no idea on how large this market can be, on how large Web3 could essentially morph into, because these digital economies and these smaller economies within the digital realm, it's going to grow massively. And I really do think that if we look at what Hedera is doing, and when we look at the Web3, it's been happening for a while on Hedera. Like Web3 has been becoming a reality. And whether or not people want to get behind it or not, most people will be left behind. And, those that can really welcome in Web3 now and get ahead of it are going to really reap the rewards. That's why I am focused and I'm hyper focused on what's happening around Web3 and also the overall digital economy that's being built within these networks. But also, there was another post that came out from CoinDesk, which was talking a little bit about creating a self-sovereign identity in the metaverse. It's important, essentially. Though questions about privacy and regulatory compliance remain, according to a small group of discussion at Consensus 2023, which was presented by Hedera. Now, we do see here who will own the metaverse. Now, I think that this is a big area of interest because, if we actually look at the metaverse, I think one of the biggest problems that we've seen around it were these big corporations jumping in heavy on it. For example, Facebook rebranded to Meta, which was wild. But there were so many other corporations trying to get in on this game, which, again, I get it. I understand the idea of wanting to get ahead of the curve and really make a ton of money off of this. Like, that's the corporate idea. But I don't think that corporations are going to own the metaverse at all. I actually think that the metaverse, outside of these corporations, I think that the metaverse being built on things like Hedera, for example, a lot of the metaverse use cases and things like that are crucial. And the reason why I say it's crucial because we need to get rid of these corporations. These corporations are extremely terrible for any sort of innovation and freedom. For example, imagine loading up the metaverse, right? You might have your VR headset on, whatever. And all of a sudden you're getting hit with ads and micropayments and hey, buy this, buy that. That's everything around these corporations. For anyone that was playing video games and is a gamer, right? I'm sure that all of you are aware of these microtransactions. Buy this, but get the coolest thing. Most of this stuff used to be free years ago. But these corporations, they realize hey, there's a lot of money to be made here. And that's all it ever is it's a constant cycle of how can we make money off of the consumer? And I don't think that the metaverse needs to be that. I think that the metaverse could be something much larger than that, but it won't be unless you have players like Hedera being the leaders behind this. And when I say Hedera, I mean decentralized entities and decentralized networks building this and allowing it to become a reality. And we do see who will own the metaverse. 40% megacorps like Meta, 19% early adopters with skin in the game, and then 40% everyone/no one. And I think that this would be the best case scenario, but it is arguably, a hot topic to discuss who will own it, and it's questionable on if these mega corporations will be the ones owning it. And if they are, will the metaverse even survive? It's a big question. But we see a new vision of the internet puts privacy, decentralization, and ownership at the forefront and focuses on restoring choice and agency, which is Web3. Web3 is essentially, killing off Web2 and the corporations behind it and allowing for a new internet to rise centered out on decentralization, where the consumer is actually in charge of their own data and could technically sell their own data or even just create other passive income opportunities. But we do see clearly defining what an open metaverse and open standards will look like will help people understand the difference between Web3 and big tech metaverses. And yes, I think that this is crucial. And I think that's something very interesting. And we do see, we want to know what you think, who will actually own the metaverse. And it was a big tie almost between everyone, no one, and megacorps like Meta. But also over here, here we have the Hedera ecosystem. So there's a ton of funds happening on Hedera, as you guys are probably all aware of. When we actually look at the Metaverse fund, right? So this is the Metaverse fund itself. There's quite a bit of Metaverse projects building here. You guys already see Galaxy down here. Infinite Baisuku is also something that's pretty interesting. And then there's a couple other ones here as well. There's also a lot of partnerships with Hedera already, like the mall, for an example. I don't know if the mall is on here. I don't think so. Well, yeah, technically the Metaverse is here. So they're building a mall, which is pretty large. It's 100 floors, I believe, or something like that. Very large. They're also working with companies like Starburst, for an example, which is tied to other larger companies. But there's a lot happening here. And here you guys have the mall. They're actually mentioning the mall here. It's the world's largest virtual mall. There's a lot of cool things happening here. And I think that that's something that I personally like to see is things like the mall being built, where you still have corporations being a part of it. But guess what? It's centered out on, private technology, or I shouldn't say private technology, open sourced technology that is open to the general public. It's not owned by anyone. No one's in, charge of it. It's decentralized, which I personally love to see. And again, there's a lot more happening here around the metaverse itself. I'm very excited to see the future around where we could head to with players like Hedera being a part of the journey. But then also there was this article that got posted, which is the decentralized nature of Web3 platforms opens up a whole new world of possibilities for businesses to bypass intermediaries and interact directly with customers. In this process, trust becomes a linchpin. And again, this is what I'm focused on, like Web3, because Web3, again, it's projected to be a $140 trillion asset class. And, for that to really be the case, we need to have consumers in charge. Because if we don't, then, what's the point of Web3, right? Because everyone hates Web2. It's the number one thing that I see people complaining about. Like, how does, Facebook know that I was looking up this and that, and now they're giving me ads for it? Well, they're selling your data. They're utilizing your data to, target you specifically for things. And it's wild. And your data shouldn't be sold like that. Your data should be yours. You should decide what happens with your data. But in Web 2, you're not in charge of it. It's the number one big deal with Facebook. It's the number one problem that Facebook was seeing, and that's why a lot of consumers that were utilizing Facebook were complaining, and they were like, "What the hell? Like, what's going on here?" So if we look at Web 2, yeah, there's a lot of problems with Web 2, and I think that Web 3 could be very interesting, especially built out on things like Hedera. The future internet could very well be built within the realm of, Hedera or blockchain technology. But we do see over here, embracing Web 3, Hedera leading the way to the future of enterprise integration. Enterprises are at a crossroads with the established systems of Web 2 on one side and the uncharted potential of Web 3 on the other. Transitioning to Web 3 presents intricate challenges for technology leaders and strategists, but Hedera, a leading open source public decentralized ledger, offers the expertise and infrastructure to guide enterprises towards successful integration. And again, this is what I would love to see. So, obviously, yes, there's going to be some centralization within this. It's not just going to be fully decentralized and nobody controls anything. No, enterprises can be in charge. But the best part about this is that they are in charge on an open source public decentralized ledger, meaning, yes, they are building on something that is fully open source, it's public, and it's decentralized. So yes, you have some centralization there, but it's fully decentralized anyways in its own nature. This is what I would love to see. And honestly, this is what I envision around Web3 anyways. And we do see Hedera's platform is designed to meet the needs of enterprises with features such as high speed, fixed low fees, and security. Hedera also has a strong ecosystem of partners and developers, which can help enterprises to build and deploy Web3 applications. And this does talk a little bit about our enterprises geared up for Web3. A lot of these major names like Hedera are helping enterprises become ready. And we do see enterprises need to overcome a number of hurdles, including aligning Web3 with existing infrastructure, transforming traditional practices, and understanding the intricate mechanisms of Web3 technologies. Again, a lot of this, transformation that's happening around Web2 to Web3, it's going to take some time. But I do, like I said, I think that this is going to be a very large area for people that are ahead of the game that can see this happening, to really reap the reward. But they do talk a little bit more about things happening here around security, trust, and privacy. A lot of this, again, is what Hedera has been focused on for so long. There's a lot of great things building out on Hedera to focus on all three of these. We already know Hedera's ABFT, which is the highest grade security. There's a lot of trust on the platform itself. Privacy is also a number one, concern for anyone that is looking into things. Like Hedera has been focused on privacy for a while as well, and privacy preserving use cases. And then also Web3 adoption, success stories from traditional enterprises. And here is where you see Atma.io. You also do see a few things around here around like Doxtribute, which I believe that we talked about Doxtribute a while back, but yeah, I mean, like these are the names that are building out on Hedera that are reaping the rewards and seeing the benefits of utilizing something like Hedera for their, Web3 use cases. And for example, like Avery Dennison, global leader in digital ID solutions, the company teamed up with Hedera to integrate with Atman.io, a connected product cloud platform aimed at enhancing product visibility across the supply chain and building direct trust-based relationships with customers. And again, like these companies that are embracing Web3 and Web3 technology, I'm telling you right now, the future is going to be very bright for them. And there's so much more happening here. They do talk about Toko, they talk about ServiceNow. These are just a few of the to name just a couple. I mean, if you look at Hedera, you already know by now that they're doing huge things. And it's not even the selling point, right? Like it's so easy to hype up Hedera, but I don't even need to. Like, go over to Hedera's website, go look at the use cases, go look at some of the recent announcements. I mean, this is a big deal, and what we are seeing around the space. You know, Hedera is becoming a pioneer around Web3, and they have been a pioneer around Web3 for so long. I've been preaching about Web3 for the last, two years or so. And it's now becoming a reality. I mean, enterprises are shaping up to become major leaders around Web3, but again, it's completely different than Web2 because it's all centered out on this open source, public, decentralized technology. And I think that is something so special. And as we look at Hedera, like, this is primed. Hedera has been primed for so long for enterprise use. The transactional demand now, the scalability, I mean, things are now being proven. Like, Hedera has proved itself. You could come over to Hedera and you could build extremely high throughput use cases that demand scalability for an extremely low cost, energy efficient. It's proven itself as that network for the enterprise grade sector. And I'm so happy about that because, that's what they want to see. Enterprises aren't going to choose a network that it might be able to handle the scalability. Like, here you have Hedera proving that it can, which is very, very beneficial. So with all that in mind, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. It's just up that you all have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.